Oh, I heard a familiar sound of ding. Thank you for the sub. That was very low. All right, give me a second. I gotta actually fix the sound. So yeah, sorry about that. My artist and I were doing something for the VTuber stuff. But yeah, you should get ads. Why would you not get ads on here? All right, let's continue. It begins innocently enough. Tuesday morning arrives like any other day before it, bright and clear. Even though it comes with an extra helping of the unusual October weather, I appreciate being able to catch a glimpse of the clear skies lately. After going through a bout of sickness last week, it does something to lift the mood of what would otherwise be a dreary morning. And, despite being mostly a creature of habit, I wind up waking earlier than usual because of it. Hold on, I gotta fix my mic. There we go. Let me know if I need to turn it up or move it. Should be okay. Yeah. Still no earlier than Isabella, it appears. I assumed she'll take the day or two off because of what happened to Miss Cooper, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Thank you for the sub. 9 months. Sorry that the letter's been gone. The sound of the morning news drifts from her unit when I walk past on the way to the mailbox. Chances are, around this hour, she's already dressed and ready to go, probably just waiting for the next bus to arrive. I've tried to follow her example before, but I don't think I'll be repeating that.
Really? How can anyone be up before the sun is up?
It's a habit she's got from home, she said, instilled in by her kind of life she grew up in. Like clockwork, it's always at 4 a.m., either to help with the chores or prepare her little siblings for school. Well, you guys then know you don't watch my other videos, and that makes me sad. I have other things other than stuff with boobies. It surprised me the first time. She just didn't look like someone who could. In the end, I've simply passed it off as one of the many things anyone will have to get used to around her. Not that I'll ever fully understand. I'm my parents' only child. We aren't well off, but so far I've lived a relatively easy life. I didn't have to think about bills or food for the next day, or paying for any siblings' tuition on top of my own, or supporting a sick father's medication. Sorry. It's dark, so I can't see my mic isn't in the right spot. All I have to worry about were my grades, if it gained Mum and Dad's approval, or what we'd be having for dinner. Then, when put next to hers, they all pair in comparison. They look less like problems and more like petty issues this way.
Petty issues?
You did that one to yourself. But as unimportant as it all sounds, sometimes its ugly head rears at the most inappropriate moments. And sometimes they come through your mailbox in the form of a fancy-looking letter. Really, voice, you should be back. Fancy-looking letter. Pretty ribbons and all. Whoever sent this has spent silly money on the envelope alone. Verging on ridiculous, really. I can already imagine Isabella wrinkling her nose when she sees this. Then she'll complain about unnecessary expenses and rich people problems. I'm almost afraid to touch it myself. As if simply brushing my hand against the crisp surface will be enough to put a crease on it, and it'll be a terribly slight to the sender. But as extravagant as I find this, it isn't really the first time I've received one. Most of the time, it's not even for me, so who am I to complain? Either way, no look of surprise crosses my face once I flip the envelope over to see my parents' names written in a neat script.
Nothing new then.
Their years in the academy naturally brought with it various connections, people from other fields, art, science, business, politics, you name it. Welcome everybody. This one, though, gives off a much personal vibe. Letters like this usually come from old students, people who have grown fond of my parents, and they in turn treat like children of their own. I've only met a few of them. Mostly have moved on to become successful in their chosen careers, and little letters like this are their way of expressing gratitude. It's one thing Mom and Da are proud of, rightfully so, and I'm happy for them. But there are times I wish they'll remember they have a daughter here. A real one. Not that it's of any importance now. It's not like they didn't raise me well and provide for me. They did. I wouldn't be where I am now if it weren't for their hard work. And like a dutiful child, I do everything I can to give back. Even if it's as small a thing as letting them know they've got another mail waiting for them. The phone rings for a good minute before someone answers. Mum, her voice as warm as I remember.
Becca?
Hi, Mum. How's the conference going?
So, really quickly, please keep the conversations in the chat room clean. I really don't want to have my mods take care of you guys. So, be adults. This is Twitch. You should know damn well what Twitch will do. If you don't, and this will sound mean, fuck off. Simple as that.
Well enough. Until your dad sprained his ankle.
Oh no, is it bad?
I'm alright. In case anyone in this family cares to listen, I'm alright. Very much alive, darling.
And there you have it. He'll be up and walking in a few weeks, don't worry. We're going to have to extend our stay here until it heals, though.
It sounds like one of the other voice actresses is doing that voice.
Is something the matter?
Nothing big. Just that this mail arrived for you this morning.
A lie. Thankfully, she doesn't notice. Although, if I'm going to be honest, a small part of me yearns for her to do so and ask me about it. But I put down that idea almost as soon as it surfaces. I shouldn't make them fret. They're busy.
What does it say?
Raise your glasses, give cheers to the good times, blah blah.
Becca manners. That isn't how I taught you to read.
Sorry. You are cordially... it's an invitation, Mum, for a housewarming party. From, Hannah?
The name rings a bell, though at the moment I can't recall when or where I've heard it. Recently. It must be nothing too important if I didn't bother committing it to memory. There are a lot of Hannahs in this world, so who knows?
Hannah.
She also wrote you a note, Mum. It says you used to be her private tutor at the Evans mansion, and that she misses you and would love to see you two again.
It makes my heart clench to read another openly say those words to them, the same ones I want to tell them. I want to see you too. It's been years since we've been together as family, and if there's one thing that hasn't changed from childhood, it's that Ma and Da are still busy with their respective careers. Out of the country, away on some meeting or symposium, sometimes for months on end. It only grew more frequent with the years until I'm old enough to live on my own. I'd like to think that that's how I became independent at such an early age. They've always praised me for that. At times, I wish they didn't.
Evans? Oh, I remember now. Honey, it's Hannah. Hannah Evans. Remember? Bright girl, 2 years older than Becca?
Didn't she get married a few years ago? 7 now, I think. But they grow up so fast, these kids.
Yeah, she invited us to that too. Fonte de Medici. But we missed that one because you had to present your paper in Singapore.
We did send her a note after. Still a shame we couldn't attend, though. What is it about this time?
She sent another invite for a housewarming party. Becca, when is it?
This Friday, Mum.
Oh, that's too bad. We'd love to be there, but Da's not in a condition to go walking around. I guess we'd have to decline again. I really miss that girl.
I could go in your place.
I let it slip without thinking. Personally, I've never been fond of gatherings, regardless of how simple people make it seem. But if there's one thing I hate hearing, it's that disappointment note in Mum's voice always ranks first. Whether it's directed at me or some other thing doesn't matter.
Are you sure? Don't you have work this Friday?
The event will be in the evening, Mum. It shouldn't take anything away from my schedule. It's all right. The invite's for 2 people. I can bring someone with me so things don't get boring.
I see. Maybe you can also invite Ashton?
Mum, that's a sure no from him. He hates attending parties. But I'll see what I can do. If not, I can always bring Isabella with me. You know her. She won't say no if there's food involved.
Okay, if it's not going to be a big problem for you, I don't see why not. We owe you this one, darling.
No problem, Mum. I'll even say hi to Hannah for you.
Please do. And let her know we'd love to see her once we're back in the city. Leave her a number or something.
I will.
Who the fuck pinged me? Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna click that. Not while I'm live.
But you know, the 2 of you would have become really good friends.
Give me a second. Oop, wrong button. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta take care of something. Sorry. Where the heck? Huh. Okay. That's not showing up the way it should on the thing. Alright. No problem. Yep. I'll have to get up in a minute and take care of something.
Don't you remember? You met with her once. If my memory serves me right, you were 12 then?
This, too, I can't recall. It's probably one of those meetings where you're only talk a bit before going our ways. Yeah, I'm gonna step away for 2 seconds. Sorry, guys. It's something with the AC unit. Let me go check. If she did leave an impression, I'm pretty sure I would have written about it somewhere, or at least recognized her name. As it is, the only few people I remember clearly from that time in my life is Ashton and Mandy. Don't worry about it, Matt. To some extent. Mum must have sensed my confusion because she laughs.
Don't push yourself too hard, darling. Really? It felt like having 2 daughters back then. Sometimes I wish they didn't send her away to boarding school. But, well, you know how often that goes with them. Still, try talking to her while you're there.
Oh, we'll see. I'll let you know what happens after.
I'm looking forward to it, darling. Take care of yourself.
Will do. You too, Mum. Bye. Tell Da to be careful next time.
She chuckles then. A hearty one, tender, and always light on my ears. She may be a stern teacher, but this is the part of her I love the most. The sound of it still echoes even as our call comes to an abrupt end, bringing with it a memory from so many years ago, when life and responsibility that accompanied adulthood are things far from our minds. If given the chance, I'd love to go back to those. Go to bed, then. I don't dwell on it, though, shaking it all away almost as soon as the memory forms a clear picture in my head. I've always wondered how Isabella can easily pretend everything's normal over a phone call, then bounce back to her usual self immediately after. I've seen her do it plenty of times. For me, it just drains whatever energy I have. And with a whole day of teaching it still ahead of me, I can't afford to look exhausted in front of my students. Everyone's sending me messages because I'm live. Is this what tonight's gonna be? Sorry. There we go. Even for a wee bit, it's never a good example to set. So, with another sigh, I put everything at the back of the mind and tread back to my room. The rest of my day waits. 15 minutes later, I'm heading back out, dressed for the day, my keys in hand. Ordinarily, I stop for anything. There's never a need to. I don't stop for anything. There's never a need to. That's the beauty of this apartment complex. It's quiet, and everyone keeps to themselves. No useless platitudes in the morning. No need to wear a smile on your face, lest others are nosy enough to ask. Today, however, the morning broadcast still plays from Isabella's room. My brisk pace slows to a stop, and a frown gradually forms on my face.
She hasn't left.
Of course, this isn't unusual. There are times when I left earlier than she did, like last Friday, before their open house. But those days are few and far between. It only happens in the direst of circumstances, though the last part of that might be a bit of an exaggeration. However, with what's happened the last few days, maybe today is one. The death of a friend isn't something anyone can brush off. And for someone like Isabella's the kind who got attached to people easily. With Zachary, Ashton, and I, that's been the case. I can't imagine what she might be going through right now, especially when the woman was someone she owed a lot, despite their training being brief. I've given her the space last night in deference. But perhaps today might be the proper time to check up on her.
Oh, whatever. I've still got time anyway.
With light steps, I move close to her door, hand already poised to knock. Still, I don't do so until I hear her answer me.
Isabella? Belle? Are you in there?
No answer. After a second, I finally knock lightly, so I don't disturb her in case she's sleeping and has merely left the telly running last night. Never mind how she never lets that happen, ever. Waste of electricity and all.
I just want to check on you before I leave. Is that okay? Are you going to work today, Belle?
Still nothing.
I'm about to leave. If you want, I can drop you off.
Another round of knocking. Then I'm fishing out a copy of her keys from my bag and unlocking the door. She lent it years ago. I complained about the mess and offered my help in cleaning up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary back then. After all, I could always knock. but she never did bother taking them from me, always returning it, or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I've simply stopped trying to hand it back to her.
Isabella? I'm coming in, all right?
Without waiting for her answer, I push the door open and step inside. Her unit's still a mess. I want that cat plushie. Do, and the sheep, the ram is their logo, the dev's logo. Instant noodle cups on the table, a pile of clothes on the side, papers strewn about everywhere, and an unkempt bed, among other things. This much is a given, will always be a given. I've been here several times already, and I still wonder how she can function like a human being with a place in this state. However, that's neither here nor there. I like the little bat cat, it's cute. I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but it's clearly not finding an empty flat. Granted, she could have left earlier, far earlier than usual, but she never, ever leaves without making sure she's unplugged everything. That's something she doesn't forget to do. It doesn't help that her bathroom appears unused this morning. Another habit it can only mean she hasn't been here since last night. Perhaps even since the morning after Miss Cooper's death. Yeah, there's a lot of ramen cups. I actually can't stand that stuff. Either idea doesn't sit well with me. What with the news we've been hearing lately.
The authorities are still trying to find the cause of death for all the victims. Early investigation revealed most of them were employed under Briar Realty Corporation at the time of death. Meanwhile, BRC has refused to comment on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna say clothes baskets exist. But the only thing I'll do is I've got like a little spot that I put my clothes when I'm not wearing them. If I'm gonna wear like the same shirt because I didn't go out running or something, or like I wore it once to the store and then came back and stuff and I'm gonna wear it again. Like, I have a little spot I'll put them in, but that's about it. I mean, stuff has fallen in my closet, especially with that being Miko's little cave. She likes to lay on clothes that fall. Gathering my wits, I immediately place a call on her mobile. It rings for a good minute, the sound a comfort in itself. But when another minute rolls by without her answering, well, I'm not a woman prone to panic. Sudden bouts of temper, maybe, but never panic, despite how I sound when I speak. And when it ultimately goes straight to her voicemail, a sigh is the only thing I let out. The pause doesn't last long, though. I'm actually looking at getting a hamper specifically for, like, the guinea pig fleece and stuff, so it doesn't mix into, like, the regular clothes and stuff. In the next moment, my fingers are already moving across the screen in search of two people who might be able to help. It's Ashton's number I find first and I dial. Call it a habit, but even Isabella thinks he's dependable when the situation calls for it, despite how much they give each other grief. That already says a lot about him. There's Zachary, but around this hour he's probably still sleeping. If he has freelance work, it's very likely he's just gotten himself in bed. He's the last person I want to bother, if any. The wait doesn't take long. Soon a click and Ashton's voice echoes through the receiver, though rough and still heavy with sleep. He never did grow fond of mornings. I know his feeling. I am mentally dead in the morning.
Becca? Christ, what time is it? What's up?
Not you, apparently.
Good one. Did you call us early just to make that joke? I'm going back to sleep.
No, Ash, hold on. This is important.
Becca, stakeout last night. Make this quick. I've still got a few hours before the chief bothers me.
Sorry, I'll let you go back to sleep after. It's just that... Wait, you were on a stakeout last night?
Did I
say that? Shit. Forget I said that. Forget I said anything. Forget we had this conversation.
So, you have no idea?
About what?
He actually needs to know about what's going on before, you say that.
About what? I also have no idea why we're talking so early in the morning, so there's that.
No, will you stop sleep talking or whatever for a second? Belle didn't come home last night. She's gone.
Who?
Isabella!
Instead of an answer, a brief pause comes after, followed by something blunt and heavy hitting a hard surface, and a string of rather colorful curses from him. The moment might have been one of the many things I'll keep to myself and remember fondly in the next few days if things aren't the way they are. When he picks up again, there's no trace of sleep left in his voice.
Say that again, from the top.
Isabella's gone, Ash. She didn't come home last night. Her flat's empty. She left her telly running. You know she doesn't do that at...
Okay, Becca, stop. Calm down first. You're starting to panic.
I'm not!
You are. Breathe. One person's not going to simply disappear like that. This is Isabella we're talking about. Did you try calling her?
What did you think is the first thing I did? She's not picking up. It went to her voicemail.
How about Zach? Did you check with him?
Not yet. I didn't want to bother him. You know he has trouble sleeping and all that.
All right, I'll go ask Zach. I'll call you back.
No, wait!
He ends the call before I utter a single word of protest. But for the first time since entering this room, tension is gone from my shoulders and my breathing is eased. All she said was Isabella's missing and... Okay, so if anyone hasn't seen the first few episodes of this, which they are up on the main YouTube channel, Ash really, really, really likes Isabella. And Rose, or Becca, I think, Becca, really, really likes Ashton. So, yeah. The bed creaks as I sink down on it with a sigh. The telly still blares the same uninteresting news, and I'm surrounded by clutter. By the way, thank you to everyone who has hit that membership button over on YouTube and the subscribe button on Twitch, because Twitch does it better. Because YouTube can't prove that. All the same, it feels strangely calm too here without worrying nagging me. I'll have to apologize to Zachary later for sending Ashton his way this early, but for now, relying on the letter for this isn't the wrong choice. It never will be. There's something I won't ever doubt in him, much like his promises. True to his word, he calls only a few minutes after the last one has ended.
She's with Zach.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. She could have at least sent a message last night.
What are you, her mother?
Yeah, Bella's neutral to all of it. She really is. It's one thing to hear that from Isabella, but from Ashton?
I don't want to hear anything like that from you.
I'm serious. You've got to stop treating her like she's one of your students, Becca. You don't have to keep tabs on her every time. Last I checked, she's only 3 years younger than the two of us. That's almost a decade gap from those kids you're teaching, you know.
Says the person who keeps calling her Scaredy Cat.
That's not related at all. Anyway, I'll go check how she's doing. Don't stress yourself out. You go ahead to work.
Wait, you? Don't you have a precinct to be at? Whatever happened to not treating her like one of my students? Because if anyone's going to ask me, I think you're doing the same thing.
Well, considering he can explain it's because of a missing person, and you can't be late for work because you have students that will kill each other because they're children. Shut up, Becca.
Zach said it's an emergency. Something happened last night.
Emergency?
He didn't put in those exact same words, but it sounded like it.
Ash, what really happened? Is Isabella fine?
She's alright. She's safe. Zach let her stay the night after she... Look, okay. Z-Man wasn't clear about it, but let me handle this. I'll check on her. I'll bring her home.
There's a difference between treating treating Bella like a kid and treating Bella like your girlfriend. Yeah. That sounds like a lie if I've ever heard one. The sort where he omits things so people won't fret. And I'm not sure whether I should be happy he cares that much to do that. For the love of God, you jealous girl. Wait, what's going on? There should be a link to the Discord on the About page, I think you're on Twitch. If not, I'll give it at the end. There shouldn't be a need for this between us, is there? We grew up together, didn't we? He knows I'm capable of at least hearing out the truth without gnawing at me for the rest of the day. He knows me better than that. I know him better than that. Frankly, there's plenty of other things to say about this. But despite and after all the trouble he went through, with how things are moving at the moment, only one thought occurs to me. Alright, so I'm gonna hit that save button. Why does he have to go to such lengths for a person he only met Okay, no. No. That was a bad choice. God, you jealous SOB. I recognize his concern for what it is. It's not new for him to go out of his way for us, and to be honest, this is what I love about him. As much as I would have loved to take this off his hands, it'll only be selfish of me to insist, considering he knows of my other commitments. To do so feels like I'll be trampling on that kindness he seldom offers anyone.
Sorry for putting you up to this.
Nah, don't mention it. You've got other things you need to worry about. Take care of those first. This is a small thing.
I still owe you one.
Oh, I can name a few things you can do about that. You know, there's this ice cream shop that opened near the movie house. I could use...
Okay, let's stop right there. That's enough. On second thought, maybe I'll just think about it some other time.
Harsh.
We both laughed, the sound lighter and more comfortable. Like the old days, when the wayward 26-year-old is at the bottom of the list we need to worry about. This is how we find a common ground. We may not agree on a lot of things. We may only see things the way the others does. But the give and take is something we learn to get used to over the years. Whenever it's like this, confidence in him is the least I can offer as thanks.
Really? Thanks for this, Ash.
I'll let you know what happened afterwards, I promise. I'll call you later. You have a good day. Bye.
I admit the way he puts it isn't comforting enough. He can be blunt like that. So many unknown variables, so many words left unsaid. I wish he'd simply lay them out all in the open, because like this, I'm more inclined to think there's an exaggeration on the other's part. If it's from Zachary or Ashton, I don't know. In the end, all I can do is wait, go about my day, and hope for the best. Before leaving, I spare Isabella's room one last glance, disturbingly quiet now without her in it. I'll get answers from her later. For now, my concerns are best left here. The rest of the day slips away in a blur. Despite my best effort in keeping this morning's events from surfacing in my mind, it sticks. In a way, everything today simply feels like a reminder. Every conversation, regardless of how casual, every topic, no matter how mundane it seems. I blame the news entirely for this. Recent happenings brought quite a few interesting stories to everyone's attention, mostly superstitious talks of death. Hold on. Fuck you. Who keeps doing this to me? Okay. And when locals talk about death here, anyone can sure as hell count on someone bringing up that mansion Isabella sold not a few weeks ago. Even my own students won't stop yapping about it. I think it's even worse than when it was put back up to market. Now there are more stories. If this is the world reminding me of what matters, or simply because the atmosphere around this time of year calls for it, I'd rather take the latter. At least then I can be sure people will forget about it in favor of another set of holidays after. Hold on. You have to read the rules. Go to the rules thing and read it. Nevertheless, and this may be a painful thing to admit, but listening to them is a pleasant distraction while waiting for Ashton's call. Hey, Juju. I hope you didn't forget. The school day is about to end soon.
No, that's got nothing with what I heard.
You always hear stuff. I'm not sure if half of them's even real.
Oh my god, that sounds like nerd.
No, really. Rowan knows about it. He used to be in the same class with them.
I can hear you from back here, you know.
Whatever, Rowan. Anyway, the story goes like this. There were 3 of them. They entered the mansion on a dare, and they were all never seen again. No one knows what happened to them. Up to this day. Scary shit, man.
Cock and bull story. Calling it now.
No, you don't get it. Why don't you ask Miss Gales then? Better yet, why don't you go inside the place? I'm betting my allowance you can't do it.
Their talk immediately halts. When I look up, all of them suddenly pretend to be engrossed in their current activity. Still, a word to put a stupor to this nonsense is needed. Creativity and imagination fostered by these stories is one thing, but reckless ideas should be corrected before anything potentially tragic comes from it.
Back to your worksheets, everyone. And I don't want to hear any talk of dares or going inside that mansion. It's private property now. You'd all better stay away from it before.
At that noise, the whole lot of them goes silent. You can almost hear a pin drop. The look on their faces would have made for a funny picture, but that's irrelevant at the moment. If that is a student loitering around, someone's going to be in trouble.
I'll be back. If you're done, you can leave your worksheets on my desk. Keep the noise to a minimum while I'm gone, okay?
I can sense their eyes on me as I walk out the door. A muted kind of anticipation. A bit unnerving, but it's far from agreeable. Then the feeling of being watched. You know what? Why do I do this late at night? A bit unnerving, but it's far more agreeable than the feeling of being watched I've been enduring these past few days. Class is still in session for the most part for most of the rooms. In a few hours, once the final bell rings, however, this place will once again be filled with busy chatter and footfalls, an everyday cycle in itself. But for the moment, I let the silence guide me, my ears focusing on whatever sound there are or there will be, searching for the distinct clanging of metal. A good minute passes, and, for the portion of it, only my steps echo through the halls. Did you write I agree? You have to type I agree. But are you sure you're in the right Discord? If one of the mods can get his screen name and help him? I'm about to turn around when the sound of it halts my footsteps. It's a little muffled and infrequent, but grows louder after each interval. With the hallway devoid of people, if I don't put a stop to it soon, it'll start to disturb the other classes still going on. Looking for it doesn't take long. All I do is follow the racket, and shortly I'm standing in front of a nondescript row of unoccupied lockers. And from the inside of one of them, sitting in the middle, comes the noise, annoyingly disruptive now that I'm facing it. Like someone pounding on metal doors from the inside, hoping to get out. Leaning forward, I try to get a glimpse through the horizontal slots of whatever's causing it. But this light, only darkness greets me, and another round of clanging, louder than the previous one, more desperate. I've heard stories before from other schools, from a few colleges from a few colleagues who had to deal with it once or twice. Although personally, I've never encountered one myself, and I can only thank the heavens I haven't yet. But
If this is another kid some other student stuffed in a locker.
with a huff, I straighten up and study it briefly with a frown. Without delay, I reach for its handle and, at once, it stops. Immediately replaced by a muffled sound of a mobile phone ringing. I give the door a few taps before taking my attention away. A second, another. When nothing or no one responds, I finally avert my eyes and pull out my mobile. Ashton's voice greets me from the other end of the line, oddly cheerful in light of this morning matters. Or maybe because I'm just expecting some grave or serious news from him. Instead, I get this.
Hey, Becca.
Well, you sound happy.
I do? My voice still sounds the same to me.
There are only two things I know of that could be the reason for that tone, sweet, or he's gotten a good lead in his case. From the sound of it, I'm going to assume it's the former, since lately that case is all that's running inside his head. If there's ever a third one, I've never heard of it yet. It can only be one of the two.
Ignore that. How's Isabella?
Drove her home a few minutes ago. I think she's sleeping now. Sorry this took a while. Z-Man gave us the puppy eyes after we tried to leave. Had some food prepared for us, apparently. We didn't have the heart to say no.
That's all right. Is she okay now?
I'm not really sure. She didn't say anything to Zach, but she mentioned a plan to take a few days off from work. It was a passing comment before I left her, so I didn't get to ask.
Must be because of Rose's death.
Could be. It doesn't seem like it from Zach's story, though. He said she was shaking when she got there.
Shaking?
The word triggers a memory. From 3 days ago, on the way home from her little retreat after she sold the mansion, I didn't think much of it at the time, but I won't lie, it scared me. The terrified look on her face, how she sounded when she suddenly screamed.
Becca? Still there?
Yeah, I just remembered something. Sorry, don't mind me.
Look, if you can talk to her, get the story out of her. That would be great. She wouldn't talk to Zach or me even when I tried. Maybe she'll speak up if it's you?
I'll give it a go, but I can't promise anything, okay? You know how stubborn she can get, but thanks for letting me know about this. If you want, I can get you that ice cream thing you mentioned tonight. As thanks. Just as thanks for all the trouble I've caused today.
Believe me, I'd love to take you up on that offer, but I've got something on my schedule this evening. Maybe some other time? Thanks a lot, Becca.
There's a short pause before he cuts the call from his end, and once again I'm alone with my thoughts. But rather than answer, all I got from it are questions, more of them, one on top of the other, as if the world isn't planning to give me a break anytime soon. But that's a problem I'll tackle later. Right now, I've got students who need to be taught the follies of eavesdropping, if the slight open door and their smothered laughter from the inside is an indication.
All right, enough eavesdropping. All of you, back to your seats.
Is that your boyfriend, Miss Scales?
None of your business.
He totally is.
A quick scuffle follows that comment. If there's a retort prepared at the tip of my tongue, I drop every pretense of letting it loose on them. There's no use arguing with teenagers, sometimes boisterous as they all are. The voice actor sounds a heck ton like nerd, and it throws me off when she's doing a certain voice. They're still my kids, though. Rough around the edges, maybe, but still my kids. Shaking my head, I head back to my classroom with a smile, but not before taking a glance at the locker again. It hasn't made a sound since.
Oh, must be the wind.
So, without another look, I leave it alone. All in all, the entire school day ends without a hitch. It could have gone better, mind you, but with the exams nearing, getting out of work before the sun has set looks as though it's a far-off dream for now. But you never heard of bloody wind? At least until they're over. Then we have the holidays to look forward to. There really are times when you simply take what you can get for the time being.
Nothing wrong with that.
All I'm hoping for is this will continue until the whole day ends. There's still that promise I made to Ashton, and frankly, the idea alone doesn't sound good. If Isabella didn't talk to them, what makes them think she'll talk to me? It's not like there's a hierarchy, is there? Yes, there is. Just because I can handle Isabella's childish tendencies doesn't mean I can do it all the time.
Really, those two give me too much credit.
Nevertheless, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, if only because I'm so worried about her, and both Zachary and Ashton deem it important that somebody get the story out of her. Here's to hoping it's got nothing to do with that letter again. I understand that she feels a bit stressed lately, but keeping that story going on for more than a week is... it's bound to get tiring at one point. Seriously, I merely don't want this to end in another argument. God willing, the cafe's special will help smoothen things out. After all, it's always been food with her. She's like a puppy dog. Or money. I feel personally attacked. But mostly food. Look, I admit you bring me chocolates, I'll be your best friend. At this hour, the cafe is usually filled to the brim with people. That's the reason Isabel and I rarely ever go here during the evenings. Yes, we are dogs, love us forever. I love you, chat. Now sub. I'm kidding. It's simply too much of a hassle when we can prepare food ourselves in the comfort of our homes, and there really isn't much reason to eat out lately. What with life going on a busy streak. No time for long lines. Better spend that doing something productive, yes?
Lucky there isn't one tonight.
Only a few people are idling around the counter. 4 of them, in fact. A woman in her 60s, a teenager busy with his phone. Both are just waiting to be served their orders. The other 2, a posh-looking man and a child, who I immediately recognize as Kylie, appear to have not yet picked anything they want. For some reason, my stare lingers at the guy. Though dressed relatively well and looks harmless, I haven't seen him around these parts before. Someone new in the neighborhood, perhaps? Even so, there's something familiar in him. Feels like I've seen him somewhere before. That also begs the question of why Kylie is with him. Of course, the girl easily takes a liking to anyone who buys her sweets, so it's both a bit worrisome and unsurprising. The blonde bloke doesn't look particularly thrilled with the company, though. I tear my eyes away from them, and soon enough, once the guy at the counter appears ready to take my order. That, and I'd hate to be accused of ogling strangers.
2, evening special, takeout.
He's already punching the order before I even finish. Saying my order out loud is really more for formality's sake and made out of habit. He has known Isabella and I long enough that if we ever drop by here, he already knows it's always because I'm buying dinner for the two of us. I rarely visit here alone if I can help it, but Isabella can sometimes be a bad influence. He gives me a small smile before leaving to prepare my order while I fish out my wallet when...
Look, you little ankle biter. If I buy you the biggest parfait they have, will you please behave? I would just like 10 minutes of peace and quiet.
You said you'll get me some bread pudding this time.
Yeah, well, darling, they said they ran out of it. Just pick another one so we can be on our way.
Their parfait doesn't look as cute as the one my mom bought me.
Parfait is just ice cream, sweetheart. It'll melt no matter how dainty it appears. In the end, it'll all look like an ugly puddle. Now come on, just pick one. It could even be the most expensive one on that list. I don't give a shit. I don't care.
Is that the brother?
What I would give for someone to buy you off my hands right now.
What? But what? My whole attention instantly snaps back to them and their conversation. Jumping to conclusions isn't something I'm particularly fond of, especially when all I have is the baseless assumption. You can't really trust a stranger these days. No one around the cafe seems to have noticed his words either. Very suspicious words. Still, I don't move. Yet. But my hand has already shifted from my wallet to the book I'm carrying. A hardbound textbook. Looks harmless, but if a situation calls for it, might be a good deadly weapon. Might. I haven't gotten the chance to try it anywhere so far. Today could be the day.
But you promised.
Look, if you don't want a parfait, how about a Bonifay pie? I'm sure it'll taste just as good as any other bread pudding. I'll even buy you the entire tray. How does that sound?
That's not what you said before.
Well, sweetheart, adults change their minds sometimes.
You said if I come with you, you'll buy me a bread pudding, and I did, and now you won't keep your promise. I want to go home. I miss my mom.
No, darling, if I remember correctly, and I have a good memory, honey. What I said was, if you come quietly with me, I might buy you one.
Throw the book at him right now. I'm just... He can't look good at all in any of these, can he?
The quiet part didn't happen. Though now that I'm sober, I think this is a bad idea. I should just ship you someplace else for that peace and quiet.
Why? This is just getting worse and worse. Oh, that's it. No hesitation. In a few paces, he's within my reach, and without warning, I'm slamming the flat area of the book against his skull.
Ow!
There's a cry of pain, followed by him instantly crouching down, hands nursing the sore spot. Almost comically, if this were a different situation, and the safety of St. Gerati's student isn't at stake, I'll probably feel sorry for him. I mean, has anyone seen how thick this book is?
Get behind me, Kylie.
Miss Pink!
It's amusing how fast her expression changes from pouty one earlier to something that of utter delight upon seeing me. But there's no time for the pleasantries, not even a quick one, because soon the man straightens and I'm readying my favorite newfound weapon for another hit. Except this time he's ready, and before I can land another one, His hand shoots up and catch my wrist in a firm hold. Oh, you know you did hit him in the head. That look is kind of justified. I'd want to kill you too. The look on his face.
Bloody hell, woman! What's your problem?
I'm not gonna lie. If he hasn't done anything wrong, he's a right for that. To say he's pissed would be a complete understatement. Had I been the weak-willed sort, I'd probably cower under his sharp gaze. But that simply isn't how I roll. If he thinks he can scare me and do as he pleases here, just because I'm a woman or whatever his reasoning may be, he's got another thing coming for him. So instead, I return it to him, and with the same intensity, with the same venom.
What's my problem? You're the one who has a problem here. Rotten bowbags like you don't deserve the freedom to run this town. What are you doing to this girl?
And why is that any of your business, pray tell?
Because she's a child.
Oh, it's my business if I make it to be. Now, release me or I'll call the police.
Oh, you think that scares me, Daisy?
I have a name, you sleazy douchebag.
Not in front of the kids.
Oh, I'm sure.
His grip on my hand only tightens when I attempt to shake it off. His tone might be dripping with anger and sarcasm, but the gleam in his eye says it all. He's getting a kick out of this. Riling people up, getting on their nerves, invading their personal spaces. He knows exactly what and which buttons to push. The nerve of this person. You hit him in the head with a book. The nerve of this asshole. If he thinks I'm going to give in to his goading? Yeah, goading. Into his goading, please. He might as well just kiss his sorry behind. Oh, I'm doing it.
Mister, you have until the count of 5 to let me go and step out of my personal space.
Well, we know he's a prick. Fair warning. Fairer than I can offer for people of his kind, and I'm already being considerate. Hell, this asshole doesn't even deserve a warning. If he doesn't listen, well, he's as much responsible for what will happen next as anyone.
Or else what?
I do love this art.
Such vulgar words coming out of that pretty mouth. A gorgeous flower like you shouldn't even be saying.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Don't say I didn't warn you, bowbag.
Love that intensity, Daisy. FYI, I like feisty in a woman. It gives them this certain charm. Why don't you?
5.
A second of silence. Then, without a preamble, my leg moves in one fluid motion and delivers a swift, powerful, well-placed kick to his nether regions. Needless to say, the effect is instantaneous. He yelps, abruptly drops his hold on me and kneels over, howling in pain. I can see tears forming at the corners of his eyes, too, though the mere sight of it prompts not an ounce of remorse from me. I would have been gentler if he isn't such a dirty little prick with an ego too big for his head. Too bad. Whether this obliterates any chance of him ever procreating remains to be seen, but a part of me is already praying that he doesn't ever breed after that. We have no need for more of him in this world.
You mad woman!
I warned you, you ass!
Why, this is harassment, I'm telling you! Harassment!
Then why don't you tell that to the police once they get here,
You despicable! Whatever you're assuming I am, I'll have you know it's all in your head. None of it's true. You best have that pretty brain of yours checked before that gets worse. What is wrong with you? Is this the face of someone who'd do anything suspicious?
Yes.
Oh? You don't think a stranger luring an innocent child with promises of sweets before whisking them away from their parents doesn't warrant any suspicion? You have a very funny definition of suspicious, asshole. Maybe you're the one who should have that head of yours checked.
The kid asked me to buy her sweets. You're the one who's suspicious here. I'll have you know, I have a wife.
That much, at least, appears to have been a sliver of truth to it. He even makes a show of brandishing his left hand to his face, which much flourish. Sure enough, a wedding ring is there, though all that earns him is an unimpressed glare from me. Immediately, a small part of me sort of feels sorry for whatever poor woman married this sod. I don't understand why he has to bring her up, either. As if the mention of her alone will magically present a solution to his problem. She must truly be She must truly be a remarkable woman if she can handle a dirtbag like him. Now do some voice lines so I can have some water.
And even my wife of all people in this bloody city, has never, I'm telling you, accused me of such a scandalous thing! You crazy woman!
Married or not, you're still a sleaze. Honestly, I feel...
Miss Pink, why are you fighting with my Teal?
I knew that's what it was gonna be. Whatever words left to be said here dies on my tongue. The same thing goes for the sleaze. Besides us stands Kylie gawking at us with what same curious stare she often brings with her. I know that look all too well, a precious child through and through. Tio, I believe, means brother. She doesn't say anything further. Her gaze simply moves between us, eyeing us both carefully, clearly anticipating an answer. From my experience, when it gets like this with children her age... Sorry, I still getting over the strap. It's a sure sign they won't leave you until you've given them an answer they're satisfied with. Lying won't do either. It has dissolved into a shouting match, for heaven's sake. And did she just say Tio? Something falls straight to the pit of my stomach at that. But my tone is gentle when I finally address her, void of any apprehension, and what might be the first hints of embarrassment. I pointedly ignore the latter. It can very well be just the hunger speaking.
Kylie, sweetie, do you know this oaf?
Yeah, he's Teal Loot.
Right at that moment, my brain stops. Every line of thought, every argument, I'm sorry, guys, I still have against this man, besides me, dissipates in a haze. Amidst all of it, one memory gets triggered from a few days ago.
Tio? The one you mentioned before? The uncle? The guy Rowan wanted to impress? Or was that a dare? I'm sorry, I can't recall.
Oh, Tio means uncle, okay.
Is it the one who promised he'll take Big Brother someplace cool?
Yeah, the one in the same. Don't you know who he is?
I sure as hell don't, darling. Because if I do, I wouldn't have let everything I've said earlier come out of my mouth.
He's my Teal Loot. Gazillionaire extraordinaire, am I? No, the fairy godfather.
He's your godfather. That's...
We're going to fucking jail. We're going to jail, stream. Everyone get in the car, come on. We're all going to prison together. I mean, he deserves it, mind you, he does.
That's nice.
The one and only.
I thought Tio actually meant brother. I couldn't remember because it's been a while since we've done this.
Did I get that right, Tio?
More than right, sweetheart. I'm sure Miss Pink here understood everything you said quite perfectly.
That moment you can tell the voice actor is having so much fun with this character. And for real though, I do want to say every voice actor in this game has been amazing. Whatever it is that landed at the bottom of my stomach prior has shot straight up to my face and stayed there. The heat from it slowly spreading to my cheeks, coloring my face in almost the same shades as my hair. If only the earth would swallow me whole here and now. His eyes on me, I can feel them jeering, mocking. I can't even bring myself to look at him. What's in there? Amusement? I doubt it. He's probably having the time of his life right now. But I know I can hear the sneer in his tone alone when he talks. He has that smug grin on his face. By the way, we're actually going to look at all of the games by these developers, and they are working on a Yuri visual novel right now. Don't think it's out yet, but I do have a demo we can look at eventually. They made some really great games, which I may or may not want to punch off his face at present. Oh, fuck me, that went up too fast. But damage control. Apologize to Luca Pilot. I mean, we're gonna have to apologize to him. Though it pains me to apologize to a sleazebag like him, this was my mistake. With Kylie watching us close by, I don't want to set a bad example for her, do I? Well, you're right. She should have used her head, but at the same time, if you think about it, she works with kids. So being very protective of children, especially with somebody who is talking like that, I can see it, because it might just be yes. I'll tell a story that happened where I used to live. There actually was a kidnapping right in broad daylight in front of half the neighborhood. Somebody tried to shove a little girl into a van. Granted, it was stopped, but most of the people actually ignored it when it was happening. It was only 3 people that managed to stop it. But it does actually happen in broad daylight more times than you would think. Yeah, Mama Bear Instincts is basically what it is. I'm surprised she grew up the child that she is. If anything, I want to be the role model this man couldn't possibly become from her. Even if it means taking a few blows to my ego and stroking his insufferable one. A deep gulp of air, a short moment to swallow my self-respect, and then I'm facing him. The words are out of my mouth before in a single breath.
I'm really, really sorry, sir. I had no idea.
His smirk is impossible to miss. He's not making an effort to hide it, and even the smile is so irritatingly present in his tone. My point is, was this happening in a restaurant? That was happening in broad daylight on a road, like a sidewalk of a neighborhood. You wouldn't be surprised how often this kind of thing happens in public in a lot of places. If I could slap it off him, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Now, it's an honest mistake, Daisy.
Swear to fucking God, I've got the book. I'll use it.
No, I really mean it. I actually thought you were... And then...
It's fine now. It probably happens quite a lot to a few people who look suspicious to you.
I will throw this book at you again.
Seems I'm one of them now. But don't lose sleep over it. Do be careful with that book, though. A little more and you would have dislodged my poor brain off my head. What would I ever do if that happens?
Oh no! Did it leave a mark or anything? If you want, we can have it checked. I'll handle the expenses if there's a need for it.
Now, what kind of man would I be if I let an attractive woman such as yourself do that? Why don't we just look at it this way? My forgiveness is coming from the utter goodness of my heart.
So full of himself. Exactly the kind of person I'll happily leave to die in a ditch somewhere. Holy shit, woman.
Of course, sir. Why didn't I think of it that way?
I know, right? But even someone as capable as you is bound to have a few lapses. No harm done, Daisy. Let's move on from this.
Well, if you're going to put it like that, then I guess there's nothing left for us to talk about.
I figured as much.
Awkward. The whole exchange is nothing but an awkward display of fake pleasantries. One that brings much agony to the very pride I've willfully held back a while ago. I might need a drink later so I can forget any of this ever happened. Whoever would have thought the time would come when I'd meet someone tougher to handle than Isabella. Miracles, I swear. Though, to my surprise, he proffers me a hand shortly before they leave for a shake. I realize, after a long minute of staring at it. I accepted and albeit half-heartedly, but all of the goodwill that small gesture presents melts into thin air when he winks at me. Winks. The goal of this man. However, there's no moment to ponder about it. A second later, the guy at the counter waves me over to hand me the paper bags as soon as I paid. I'm gonna be honest with you, those cupcakes at the top look fucking delicious. They do. He offers me another smile before I leave. I like the rainbow one. I actually like the frosting on the cupcake. I just wish you could always get it in one bite without it getting on your nose. He offers me another smile before I leave. Normally, I return it simply for the sake of returning it, or I don't at all, with the later happening more commonly. Don't be a dick. For the time being, I do so freely. After that encounter and the scene we've caused, seeing a friendly gesture being extended to me, albeit from a person I barely know on a personal level, it feels like a reassurance despite bearing no promise of better days. I take what I can of it with me as I step out into the night. A cloudless night sky greets me when I walk out of the cafe. Beyond the tall buildings, a blanket of stars spreads out before me. Isabella once told me the best place to view it is someplace outside the city, away from the noise and the obtrusive lights. She'd seen it once in her mum's hometown, and another time in the university she used to attend. Then she'd ask if it's possible to try it out here for some time. I agreed with her at the time, if only because she appeared excited at the mere prospect of it. We made those little plans along with Zachary and Ashton, though up till now we never got around to it. Even so, I find myself enjoying this despite being told it's only half the experience. Little things, you know, stuff you learn to appreciate when you're alone. Because at certain times, you get to meet people who are unfortunately born with the innate talent to ruin the mood and the scene with their mere existence alone. For example, the very driver of the car fast approaching my direction. Luckily, he doesn't notice me. But the fleeting moment we pass by each other gives me a brief glance of the people he's with. Kylie's sitting in the back seat, with the serving of bread pudding in her hand. And beside him, it must be his wife. He takes a turn and disappears at the nearest corner. But throughout the night, that cursory glimpse of all things to bother me has left me wondering what kind of person his wife is. And more than that, is a silent prayer to the universe. I hope I don't ever cross paths with that douche again. After having such an eventful day, anyone will think nothing will surprise me anymore. But here I am, standing at the top of the stairwell, watching an odd scene unfold before me, Relief crosses my mind first, followed by confusion.
What is she doing there?
That wasn't his wife, all right. But the better question is, what was that thing in the car? Although, given what happened this morning, the question feels a bit inappropriate to ask directly. What's important is Isabella here. She's sitting cross-legged in the hallway, just right in front of her room, with several papers and folders scattered about. Each of them seem as important as the next. More than once, upon giving the scene a quick scan, I spot Briar Rose Realty's logo at the topmost area of the pages. Everything considered, it looks like a mess made by a third grader working on a crunch time. The landlady will have a few things to say about this when she finds out. I have a few things to say about this myself, in fact. No, it's the same artwork. She's just glaring and you're used to her smiling. But something in the calm, focused manner she holds herself at present keeps me from disturbing her with that reminder. She's going through each paper with this intensity. Her brows are furrowed, lips in a tight line, both hands moving in precise movements as she shifts through each sheet. When she finds something of note, she moves closer, nose almost touching whatever paper she's holding, and grabs her phone to call someone.
Hello. Sorry to call you this late. There's something I just want to confirm, if that's okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thanks anyway. Not that one either.
It's a cycle. She goes through call after call. Then the last one ends, she shuffles through the pile again and dials another number. Is it work? I've never seen her this engrossed with her own work before. Otherwise, she would have noticed my presence the moment I've reached our floor. After the 9th call, she still appears as oblivious to it as when I arrived. When she lets out a loud sigh this time, I immediately take that as an opportunity to interrupt.
Isabella, you know the house rules here.
At once, her head jerks back and hits the concrete wall behind her with a thumb. Ow. There's the Isabella I know. Glad it's still there. I allow her a moment to nurse it before speaking again.
Becca, you're late.
Fucking stop DMing me.
Yeah, I ran into a little trouble at the cafe. But I brought food for the two of us, if you haven't eaten anything yet.
As anticipated, she grins. She grins once I raise the bag of food I'm holding. Yet it doesn't reach her eyes. There is nothing of the cheerful glint in it this time. Just a hollow tone for the sake of being polite. Ashton's right. Something's happened.
Yeah, maybe later. I've got to finish this first. Just leave it here. I'll eat it once I'm done. Thanks, Becca.
You can't eat this here. You know how the landlady would react. Why are you even working outside? Your room's right there.
I know. Sorry. It just feels stuffy in my apartment right now. I'll go back inside once everything's been aired out. I promise.
That has never bothered you before.
Well, it bothers me now.
Oh, really? Just now? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah? Shouldn't you be happy? I mean, you've been complaining even if it's not your room. Now I know how you're feeling when it's messy, so I'm going to clean. Isn't that a good thing?
In spite of what's supposed to be a good news, an exhale comes from me, drawn and slow.
It's a good thing, Isabella. Believe me. But you're as bad as Zachary at lying. What's really going on?
She hesitantly averts her eyes, a surefire indicator this is going to be one of those lengthy conversations that can possibly end with the other person angry. Again. It's one thing I'd like to avoid tonight at all costs. Still, I've made a promise to Ashton and Zachary. If she didn't talk to them, who else is she going to talk to? If she keeps this all to herself, who knows what might happen.
Isabella, you can tell me. Is it about your family?
A slight movement of her lips, although a frown. It's a reaction, at least. I'm getting there.
Rose?
She merely shakes her head. Just a little more.
Come on, I know something happened. I don't know if it's because of Rose, but I know it's related to her somehow. You weren't here when I visited this morning, and both Zachary and Ashton are worried about you. If you don't want to tell them, you can tell me. Does it have something to do with work? Office?
If I didn't know her, I might have missed it. She shifts then, her fists clenched tight, and her teeth biting her lower lip, and there's fear. The look of terror in her is the last thing I expected to see out of everything. Her mouth trembles briefly before she opens them. When she finally voices it out, the words simply spill out of her mouth. One after another. All of it. True to what I promised her, I listen, because this is something she's been keeping to herself, even from the two most dependable people I know. The fact she chooses to tell me this speaks a lot to me.
Becca, she was there again. Last night? In the office? Boss passed me all of Rose's work load yesterday. For the Ermengarde mansion. I had to stay late to finish them all. And then, when I was about to go home, I saw her. I saw her again. She was standing in front of me again last night, Becca. I couldn't get away. She was blocking the door. If I hadn't hidden myself, even if I made the tiniest noise, if she found me, Becca, she almost did. If she saw me under my table, I think that would have been the end of it. I'm scared. I'm so scared I won't be able to do anything.
By the end, her hands are trembling and her breathing comes out in rasp intervals for a long moment. I let the silence stretch out between us, let her sobs fill it instead. But even as her soft whimpers die down a few minutes later, there's a heaviness hanging in the air. Not just from her, but also from me. From my exasperations over this whole matter, from my own frustration over her stupid superstitions when she could do us all a favor and grow a backbone. She may be young, but she's no longer that young. It's about time to put an end to this. She can't keep going on like this. She's still got plenty of years to live out. And what if she goes home? What if we're no longer there to keep her fears in line with what's real? You keep losing the stream. Hold on, let me check. No drop frames, we're good. What would she do then? I'm more afraid for her. For what that kind of imagination will do to her, than of what some imaginary monster could do. But with the manner she's looking at me right now, there's an exception in it, a hope and a plea sewn together. She wants me to believe her this time. If it's like that, then what am I supposed to say now? Don't be a dick. Is this why you didn't go home last night? As much as I want to set her straight, a reprimand isn't what she needs right now. With that pouty face she's giving me, I doubt it'll even end well if I push it. I know her. When she wants to be stubborn, she's stubborn. But there's a moment when she can be accusing too. Times when she'll be more accepting of what I tell her, despite her inclination to disagree with it. That talk can wait. In the meantime, I'll be the ear that listens to her without judging her, without criticizing her, despite my own opinions on it.
You should have called me.
She stares at me like I've grown another head, and her laughter slips out before I can stop myself.
There? I can't do that! What will you do? Hit her with a book? You'll be dead before that happens. And
That isn't what I'm talking about. After you got out, you should have phoned me. You didn't have to go to Zachary's.
The corners of her mouth curl up, a sheepish smile by general definition, but this is Isabella. Her smiles are never half-hearted, never lacks her high spirits. In spite of this, I know everything's going to be okay. Somehow. After all, she's learned how to pick herself up long ago, long before we met.
oh, yeah. Sorry. I don't even remember how I ended up in Zach's place. I was in a hurry to get out of the office, and it was already late. Besides, I don't really think you'll believe me if I wake you up over something like that.
That's beside the point. True or not, there are people who will always be concerned about you. There's Zachary, but he's the first person you went to, and you didn't tell him anything. There's Ashton too, and me. But how do you think I'll be able to explain to your aunt or your family if you suddenly disappeared? Think about that.
Right. I'll remember that next time.
Then she grins. Playful and mischievous, a preamble to an old banter. It's still not quite there, still not quite her usual self, but with it, I know we're bound to get her back soon.
Mom!
I told you not to call me that.
I send an elbow to her side for added measure, but when laughter follows the familiar gesture, none of it is unexpected. This is what's comfortable. This is how we found an equal ground despite our stark differences. So, for the moment, I accept things as they are. Afterwards, a hush stretches out before us. For Isabel, this is rare. This isn't her. Yet, in this moment, as she fiddles with the edge of another paper near her, as she hugs her knees close to her and lets a pensive expression linger on her, it feels strangely fitting, as if this is where everything's supposed to lead to if we're allowed it long ago. Seconds later, the moment is broken by the sound of a door easing open and a voice begging some little peace.
How many times have I told you girls not to loiter around the hallway? It's noisy. Some people here are trying to sleep. Quiet down or go do your talking inside. I'm pinning a memo to your door the next time this happens. Millennials.
Sorry, we won't do it again.
You'd better.
The door closed and Isabella starts gathering the mess she made, carefully stacking them all in her arm. At a loss for what to do, I help her pick them up, and for the first time, I get a closer look at it. Completely unintentional, of course. But it catches my attention nevertheless, and a confused frown makes its way to my face. Why is she looking through this? I look to her for an explanation, but she merely ignores the question in my eyes and takes the paper off my hands and finishes cleaning up. The last paper she puts on top is a letter. The one she supposedly found in the mansion, and what's probably the root cause of this behavior. I shoot her a questioning look for that too. But all she gives me is a smile. And in a halting tone, so completely unlike her. Fuck you, bug. God damn, the mosquito got in.
Becca, I'll find a way out of this. You guys don't have to worry about me. Anyways, I should go. I'll see you later.
Where are you going?
Getting myself some food. Don't wait for me.
Isabella walks away before I stop her. Before I can remind her, I brought food enough for the two of us. She quickly disappears down the stairwell while I'm left standing in an empty hallway holding 2 bags of takeout. One of them will go uneaten tonight. Just an innocent passing thought. One that I don't dwell much on as I head back to my room. I ignore all of it, in the same way I assumed I won't ever encounter that douche again. And that's it, guys. This will be for next time. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. When we have another late night stream, we'll do more of the letter because I want to finish that up so that we can do some corpse party and then some Danganronpa.